Boker Tov, Shalom everyone, Rabbi Eric Solomon, Beth Meyer Synagogue, Raleigh, North Carolina, a little more morning Torah this Friday morning. I want to talk about Vayera. This Torah portion in Genesis is, chock full, and the most famous story is called the Akedah in Hebrew, the binding of Isaac. Abraham believes, he understands, he's called by God to bring up his son Yitzchak, the one he loves, up onto a mountaintop and put him down for a sacrifice. It's one of the most challenging and difficult, problematic texts in the entire Torah, especially for anyone who identifies with parent dynamics, with children. How could this be? How could God insist on this sacrifice? Put away all the interpretations, as you know, it doesn't end up happening. An angel comes down. Wait, Abraham is about to take the ma'achelet down on Yitzchak. It's stopped, and there's a ram, ne'echaz b'sfach, caught in the thicket, ends up being sacrificed instead. But I want to get down to the text here, because when Abraham is about to do this in the process, there are a few occasions where the angel speaks to Abraham, and says not only Abraham, says Avraham twice. And Abraham responds, Hineni, beautiful word, here I am. And that dynamic is Abraham is so committed, so sure that this is what God wants. Even though we can imagine the conflict inside of his soul, he goes forward anyway. And in fact, the fact that the angel has to call him out twice, not just Abraham once, but Abraham twice, in the Torah, it's a very basic literary method, or is to say, basically, it's an exclamation point. It's an emphasis. Another way of saying is that Abraham, the first time the angel called, Abraham didn't hear it. Maybe it was twice in order to be sure Abraham heard. Because we can imagine, I think one way to read this is that Abraham had a one-track mind. Even with the ambivalences, wasn't sure, etc., or imagine the moral conflict, he felt this was what he needed to do, and he was on a one-track mind dynamic. And by calling out twice, we see that Abraham was struggling with this. And then when he said, Hineni, one of the ways I like to see it is this, he said, Hineni was like, take a breath, stop, be aware, be mindful, reflect. Is this what I want to be doing? Am I sure? Am I sure I'm called to something greater in this moment, in this way? That, I think, is one of the greatest lessons, and the fact that Abraham doesn't do it in the end, of course, but of this whole text, is that many of us, especially us type A people, and I include myself in this, can get very fired up and passionate about doing something, about a goal, about a vision, about something we want to achieve. And sometimes I describe this about a colleague of mine, is that sometimes when he has an idea and he's fired up, the train has left the station, meaning it's like he can't be detracked. It's like he is going to that destination, even if there's information or evidence that shows contrary. Now, I think this is a very fine discernment. It's like a really powerful spiritual practice to get into this place, because there's a tension between being determined, not being held back, going for our goals, reaching our vision. By the way, Abraham has that, a land that I will show you. Your progeny will be like the sand of the sea, the stars of the sky. He wants to fulfill and follow God's commands. At the same time, you got to be in the moment to see if there is new information, new things, and even people who offer contrary information, instead of seeing it as an attack personally, but see it as an opportunity for recheck-in, a cheshbon. Is this still what is ideal and what is best? Some people criticize, well, if you're not really go forward, you're not committed. Look at Avraham. It's not that he's not committed. It's that when he's given new information, even to the point of being stopped his hand, he lets go and says, Hineni. And I offer that for a practice for us as well, is that I think on the one hand, it's powerful to strive, to have goals, to feel called, to want to serve, to want to do, to vision something great for the world, whatever that may be, but also have the ability to have presence, to slow down, to reflect and be mindful and check in with a Hineni moment. Is this still the best decision? Am I sure this is where I'm called? Will this be the best contribution? So, besikum, as they say. Avraham, thank God, does not sacrifice Yitzchak, his son. But part of that process is because he had the moment and the ability. Called twice, still. He called attention and said, Hineni, and redirected his vision. May we all have the ability to avoid one-track mind thinking and avow myself to have many tracks that may still move forward, but at least we're mindful about the possibilities even on the journey. Boker Tov, wishing all a Shabbat Shalom of mindfulness, of Hineni experience, and being prepared to call ourselves for Hineni when in the process of our dreams and our journeys. Shabbat Shalom.